Before we begin, I would like to introduce you guys to our two speakers of the day. Uh, First off, we have Rishad Hasbullah, Bachelor of Information Technology. Rishad, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, sure. So hello everyone. My name is Rishad. I am currently working as acting head of IT at Rumah Siap Kerja. I also work as a contractor for Talent as a full stack engineer. I graduated from the University of Queensland with a Bachelor of Information and Technology, and I also graduated from Universitas Indonesia with Bachelor of Computer Science. I also want to mention that I just recently graduated from Bangkit Academy, which is a 6 month Google-led machine learning program, which is aiming to upskill developers in machine learning and also soft skills. And from there, from the Bangkit Academy, I also gained my TensorFlow certification, which is a machine learning certification for IT. I guess that's all. If you want to add me on LinkedIn, you can just scan the QR code. Yeah, I guess that's all from me.
Thank you, Rishad. Also joining us today is Imairi Etifeni, Master of Computer Science. Imairi, can you please introduce yourself to our audience as well?
Thank you, Dava. Hello, everyone. My name is Imairia Tiffany. I'm a researcher and PhD candidate and sessional teaching staff in University of Melbourne. I'm also a lecturer in Faculty of Computer Science, University of Indonesia. My research interest lies in the intersection of information systems, sustainability, and e-commerce.
Thank you, Imairi. Now, before we move on, I would like to remind our audience that if you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature that Zoom has provided us, and then we will go over them at the end of the show in the Q&A session. Now, right now, we're going to have Rishat who will be presenting to us about the general knowledge of AI.
Okay, sure. So first, I want to make sure that we are on the same page here. I want to start by the definition. So next slide, please. So I want to start with what is artificial intelligence. We might often hear it, these words, but maybe you don't really know what it actually means. So from the dictionary, the meaning is the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. So artificial intelligence is actually a science of making a computer to be as smart as sort of like as intelligent as human. Um, so without any human input, they can appear to be smart. Now it's really closely related to machine learning, and I want to give you the definition of machine learning. So machine learning is very similar to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, it's the science part of making the computer to be intelligent, while machine learning is the implementation part. So if you are an IT, then there is a job called machine learning engineer, but we don't really have artificial intelligence engineer. So machine learning is the engineering part, while the artificial intelligence is the science part. And inside machine learning, we have deep learning, which is a more advanced machine learning technique that we can use to better improve machine learning ability. And the next, I want to start with the why. So why do we need to use artificial intelligence or machine learning? Well, machines can perform tasks better, especially with data. So they can process a lot of data quickly, and machine can actually identify patterns better than humans. So if you only see a lot of transactional data, maybe you need some time to gain insights from those data. You need to analyze, and maybe you miss some points. But using machines, they can um, they can identify patterns that humans might miss. So that is the reason why we need to use artificial intelligence. And then when do we need to use this artificial intelligence? Well, the machine learning need to use data to be able to predict. So the when part is if you have sufficient data to be able to use machine learning. And what is sufficient data? How many is sufficient data? It really depends on your company or in the industry that you're working for. It could be hundreds of thousands of data. It could be millions. It could be billions. It really depends on what you're working for. But usually, if you have more data, the machine will be able to predict the outcome more accurately. So yeah, just make sure that you have data. I want to share a bit of my experience. So I was once asked to implement a location matching feature, and basically what the product team was asking me is to match for example, you have a laptop in Brisbane, and you want to match. So you want this product to be able to appear for users who live in Brisbane. And for me, the term using machine learning seems wrong because you don't need to train the machine to do that. It's actually just matching users' location from their profile with the product location. So it's basically just matching. It's not really machine learning. And next, I want to show you what's the difference between regular programming and machine learning. So next slide, please. So in here, at the top part, regular programming needs data and rules to be able to get the result. So for example, let's say the data is you have test scores from students. So you have a list of scores and students, and then you define the rule. If the score is more than 60, then the student passed the test. And if after you define the rules, you let the program run, you give the data, and you get the result. You get who passed the test and who doesn't. Now, in machine learning, you don't really pass those rules. So you have the data, you have all the student scores, and you have the result. So who failed and who passed the test, and you let machine learning figures out the correlation between those two data. So in this example, the data is the scores. So we have multiple scores from students, and then we get the result, those who fail and those who pass the test. And machine learning eventually will figure out that, oh, so the rules are, if it's more than 60, then you pass the test. So the outcome of the machine learning is actually rules. But rules, or we call it model, because it's actually a mathematical model. We can't really see the process. We can't really know how do the machine learning figure out those rules. We just have the result, which is the model. And then if after we train, we get the model, we use this model to predict future data. So for example, we have another test next semester and we already have the data, then we just need this model to predict the data and we get the result immediately. So that's how programming and machine learning differs. Because for example, if you want to say you want to identify an object on an image, it's really hard for you to program the machine to know, okay, if the shape is square, then it's probably a tablet. But there can be another object, which is a monitor or a screen that is also rectangular. So it's very hard for us to code those rules, and therefore we use machine learning. So they figure out themselves what are those rules. So I hope that gives you a clear difference between programming and machine learning. And then next slide, please. Okay, I'm gonna show you some examples of artificial intelligence. So face recognition. So you probably you have it on your device right now. So if you want to log in, if you want to unlock your phone or you want to log into your computer, you can use your face for verification, and that actually requires artificial intelligence. So how does it work? So basically, the camera, the computer captures a snap of a photo, and then it translates the photo into data, because machine can only understand 1 and 0. So it's probably easy for you to identify different faces. You'll be able to recognize who your friends are, the faces. But for machine, since it only consists of 1 and 0, it's very hard for them to be able to tell who is whom. So in face recognition, it's actually the data, the image is transformed into matrix of data, like pixels, colors, etc. And then the machine will figure out the distinctive features from the object. So if we take our example as the face, the machine will be able to recognize different eyes, different nose, mouth, or the shape of the face. And those features will be used as the base model for the machine learning to be able to predict a face. So that's how artificial intelligence be able to detect a face. And then next slide, please. Now you can also use artificial intelligence to predict the weather. So you can use past data. For example, you take the data from last year, last month, or last week, and then from those historical data, you can tell the machine to be able to predict. Okay, if for example, usually this month it's going to be rain. It's a rainy season, so the machine will be able to predict those data based on past data. Or you could also use, for example, you use a camera to capture the image of the clouds, and if the clouds is thick, then maybe the machine be able to predict, oh, okay, if it's really thick, and then the light sensors captures, oh, there's not much of a light, then it can predict that, okay, probably it's gonna rain because there's a lot of thick clouds and there's not much of a light. So that's another example of artificial intelligence. Next slide, please. Okay, now this is quite interesting. So you can actually identify a disease outbreak using Google search. How does it work? So in recent paper, there's a research paper that can predict if an area is having a disease outbreak just from Google search. Let's take an example in Brisbane. So if people in Brisbane suddenly started to search for cold symptoms or flu or fever symptoms above the normal search threshold, then there is an indication that, oh, if people started to search that, then probably in that area in Brisbane, there's a disease outbreak happening. So that's another example. Next slide, please. Now, the common one is recommendation system. So we often see this like frequently brought together or any other kinds of recommendation system. How does it work? Well, we process the data, the transaction data of all the users, regardless who that is. Usually, if people bought a laptop, then they also bought a mouse. So from those past transactions, we'll be able to predict, okay, if this user is searching for laptop, we can recommend additional package or additional product that the user might need. So that's another example. Next slide, please. And next is fraud detection. For us users, it's very hard to see. It's very hard to see this kind of like tables, bunch of data, hundreds of thousands of data. And how can you do fraud detection if you do it on your own? It might take a few months to process 1 day of transaction. Now with artificial intelligence, we can train the AI to be able to learn what might be wrong, what scenario might be wrong from the transaction, and they might and the machine should be able to give warnings to the to the company. So for example, if you just bought a keyboard on offline store in Brisbane, and then in the next hour you bought a monitor from an offline store in Singapore, then the machine should be able to know that there is a fraud there, because currently people can travel from Brisbane to Singapore in less than an hour. So that's kind of what artificial intelligence could do. Those are the examples that I have. Hopefully it gives you an understanding of what artificial intelligence is, how does it work, and what it could do. I think that's all from me. Handing back to the moderator.
Thank you, Rishad. That was great, very insightful. Now that we have a basic in this understanding of what AI is, we can move on to the application of artificial intelligence in commerce, which will be presented next by Imairi. Imairi, please step forward.
Thank you, Dafa. Next, please. Yeah. So AI, artificial intelligence, is beginning to embed itself into all aspects of our life, including e-commerce. It is widely anticipated that since giants like Google's who acquire DeepMind, it is a startup that is based in artificial intelligence. And another giant just like Facebook and IBM have publicly expressed their focus on developing AI as a new source of business, including e-commerce as well. Many e-commerce businesses are already using forms of AI to better understand their customers, to generate new leads, and provide an enhanced customer experience. Next, please. Yeah, now we will take a look about the specific AI implementation in e-commerce. Some of the most important implementation of AI in e-commerce is to create a new level of personalization. Personalization is a very important thing in e-commerce. A business who can treat their customers in individual way, in a specific way, in a unique way, that can cater to their diverse and unique tastes and preferences, will gain competitive advantage over their competitors. So they keep trying their best how they can personalize their business. Yes, so personalization is a very important thing in the e-commerce. Several ways that we can achieve that is to create customer-centric search. Yeah, so for example, that when we search a product in Shopee or Lazada or any e-marketplace, for example, we expect that the result of our research is relevant to our needs. Yeah, and then AI can be used to help that, because customers usually can often abandon their e-commerce experiences if the result is not relevant or helpful to them, and we don't want that to happen. So yeah. So AI can be used to that. So based on the previous purchases, based on the customer's behavior, based on the customer taste and preferences, we can predict what they want, for example, like that. Next, please. Yeah, the next way to achieve personalization is to provide a personal touch with chatbots. Yeah, so many e-commerce businesses try to capture the attention of the customers via what we call as a conversational e-commerce. Yeah, so there are several alternatives to do that. For example, like contact forms, phone calls, or email that we can have the conversation with customers. In AI implementation, here we can have a chatbot. Yeah, chatbot is an important application of AI as well in e-commerce. So chatbot is a specific computer program that is designed to simulate conversation with human users over the internet. So it looks like we have a conversation with a human. So the ability of the chatbots rooted in its ability to understand human language. So the companies, the business use natural language processing, the ability to understand what humans says and interpret them and then transform them into a set of command to do. For example, that we see in this picture, the customer says that, can I get a tall latte, please? Yes. And then the chatbot can have some kind of recommendation or do, so the chatbot can understand that. So the customer want this kind of coffee and then do the task, to order that. So so the chatbot can actively take some of the important responsibilities that come with running an online business, such as executing tasks for operations and marketing, automate order processes, and improving customer service. Next. Yeah, improve recommendation for customers. So Richard has already talked about it before, and I will delve into the implementation in e-commerce. So next, please. Yeah, so using AI, companies can more intelligently and efficiently scan through petabytes of data to predict customer behavior and offer relevant and helpful recommendation. For example, here, Netflix, makes recommendation. Maybe the previous slide, please. Yes. Netflix make a recommendation like this based on the user's interaction with the movie category, like a drama, action, and comedy or something. And then Netflix used the watching history of other users that are similar in taste and preferences and behavior to another user. For example, me and Dafa is like have some kind of similar taste. For example, we both like comedy, we don't like horror, for example. And Dafa watched this movie A, and maybe maybe I would like that too. So Netflix will recommend movie A to me because we have similar taste and preferences. Yeah, next, please. Yeah, there's another interesting implementation of AI by Netflix is the auto generation and personalization of thumbnails. Yeah, we see when we scroll through the list of movies in Netflix, we see pictures. We see pictures of the movies. Yeah, we see pictures of the movie. And since movie is like a moving images, like there are a lot of images in a movie, and Netflix need to know which image in this movie or shows that is most likely produce an effect that this movie will be clicked. Yeah, so Netflix use AI to generate thumbnails. Yeah, to generate thumbnails based on the preferences and taste of the customers. Yeah, so Netflix annotate these images, and then ranks each image to identify which thumbnails have the highest likelihood of resulting in clicks. Yeah, for example, you like this specific actor, and then Netflix identify that and choose this picture who shows this specific actor or actress, for example. Or you like this sequence of action movie, fighting sequence, for example, and Netflix will show the fighting sequence or something like that. So it's quite interesting and smart. Next, please. Yeah, another way to create a new level of personalization is through localization. Yeah, so localization is another interesting topic as well in e-commerce. So localization is like how we can tailor the e-commerce experience based on the location. For example, that we are here, maybe I'm here in Jakarta, and then I want to have a recommendation of experiences and product in Jakarta. I don't want any recommendation in I don't know, Stockholm, for example, because it's not relevant and useful for me. So I want so I want a local experience, and AI can be used to help. Next, please. So one of the good example is Alibaba. So Alibaba has been expanded. Alibaba is a big giant e-commerce originated from China. So Alibaba has been actively expanding its business into the global market, yeah, to make them available to more users around the world. And one of the first things to do if you want to go global is to provide a website with multiple languages, yeah, multiple languages. So Alibaba use AI to help this, AI to help achieve this goal, yeah, to create a machine translation, yeah. This machine translation will automatically translate words, sentences, product information from one language to another language, and multiple languages automatically. It also translate comments. Yeah, I'll write my comments in Indonesian language, for example, and it can be automatically translated to another language based on the users who see that. Yeah. So if the another users, maybe a Russian users can see my comments in Russian language, for example. Yeah, so it can help to break through the language barrier by simplifying the localization process when going global. So this Alibaba machine translation provide multilingual product information like this, yeah, the one in the blue rectangle, and also comments, yeah, multilingual comments. And also another thing is customs clearance translation. If I buy a product from China, maybe the information is in the words of Chinese language, for example, and the Bayesian translation will automatically translate those words, translate the information. So the custom officers can check it, they can read it. The custom officers can check it and read it and can understand it and can process the order, can process the shipment. Yeah, that's one another way to do to have the machine translation is a custom clearance translation and real-time multilingual communication. So we can have a communication in different languages and translate it in real time. Next, please. So we talk about several important implementation of AI in e-commerce. The first one is to create personalization. The next one is to create a more efficient sales process. And we can use virtual personal assistants to help us to smooth sales process. So customers, when we use virtual personal assistant, customers don't have to rush to the local store because they run out of milk or bread, for example. They can simply ask Alexa. This Alexa is one of the example of virtual personal assistant. We also have like Siri and another personal assistants. So customers can simply ask Alexa to order them some for the morning. Yeah. So the advanced capability of this personal assistant rooted in the ability of natural language processing as well. So they can understand the personal assistant can understand what the human says, yeah, what the human says, and then interpret it and execute the command. Yeah. Okay. And also customers can also, another example, like a customer can also discover local gigs for the upcoming weekend, arrange transport, and even order pre-event dinner from the nearby restaurant. Next slide, please. And number two, to create a more efficient sales, like we can enhance offline experience. For example, when we buy something, sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need help about the products or the information or about the location, or maybe we can have a chat. We can have a chat with the storekeeper, for example, and I can be used to have that. This is an example of how we can enhance offline experience. The stall robots can greet the customer in the door here, and then guide them around the store, source relevant product information, and even assist employees with inventory management, yeah, putting stuff and everything. That's another way to create a more efficient sales processes. Next, please. So the third way that we can implement AI in e-commerce is to tackle fake reviews and combat counterfeit products. So Rishad has explained about how we can detect fraud. Yeah, detect fraud. So in e-commerce, we can apply that to tackle fake reviews. So because reviews are very important for the customers. Yeah, because customers are flooded with abundance of advertising. Yeah. When we see advertising everywhere, even when we watch movie, it is split. It is stopped because you need to see the advertisement or something. So there are so many advertising every day, and consumer are become overwhelming. It is overwhelming, and this sometimes delay their decision making. Too many information. Maybe some recent study says that if someone is presented with a lot of decision to make, they end up don't make decision at all. Yeah, so we don't want that. So this is where reviews become valuable, yeah, very, very important. So if your friend have purchased this specific product and have positive experience, you are more likely to buy the same product. So a recent study says that a staggering 90% of respondents who recall online reviews, positive reviews about a product, end up buying it, affect the buying decisions. So positive reviews is very important. And also 86% say that the buying decision were influenced by negative online reviews. Yes, online reviews is very important in influencing buying decision. And how about fake reviews? There are so many fake reviews and inflating star reviews. Yeah, and so some e-commerce use AI to fight fake reviews by putting more emphasis on verified and helpful reviews. So AI can identify the verified and helpful reviews. Yeah, and then also ensure that the prominence and the weight of verified customer purchase review are boosted. Yeah, okay. Boosted. So the verified customer and the verified comments are boosted. Yes, the weight of that, the weight of specific comments and the weight of specific customers are different. For example, so these customers are verified, so maybe the reviews are more valid. For example, so we can use AI to that. There are also preferences to those reviews that are marked as helpful by other customers. So if we see that these reviews are helpful, so it is likely to be put up front, yeah, in the first list, yeah, in the first page, something like that. So reviews are very critical to the company as they can help to build customer trust, yeah, in e-commerce side. Okay, next please. Yeah, so I talk about the e-commerce and the general implementation of AI in e-commerce. Now I will elaborate a case study about the AI implementation in Gojek. Yeah, Gojek is a Southeast Asia super app. It is an app, it's a platform that have many services in one platform. Yeah, so it is on-demand multi-service platform and digital payment technology group. So it is first established in 2009. It is a call center to connect consumers to a courier delivery or a two-wheel ride-hailing services. So just a call center back in 2009. And then into 2015, they have 4 services. Okay, and then now they have more than 20 services and operate in 5 countries: Indonesia, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and Philippines. Next, please.
Oh, apologies.
So you see, this is the picture of the interface of this is the interface of the Gojek application. Yeah. Now the first one, the implementation in Gojek is that to name pick a location. So when we want to order a ride-hailing service, for example, we don't want to explain ourselves. We are here in this intersection, in this road, in the Moreland Road numbers here. We just want to pick a name location. We are here in the intersection. There is a blue building, something like that. We don't want to go into an effort to explain where we are. We just want to pick a convenient list of name that is best represent us, something. So Gojek use AI to name pickup location. So we don't have to explain where we are, what colors that we are wearing, and so on. So Gojek use conversation between the customers and the drivers about where they are. Maybe they will use the phrases that the customer use, the common phrases that the customer usually use when they refer to a specific location. They also use past booking location and the associated chat logs to discover named pickup points. Yeah. Next. And another interesting application of AI in Gojek is cross-sell products. Yeah, for example, that user one have used GoFood and GoPay online. GoFood is the food delivery. GoPay is payment service, and also GoRide. GoRide is ride-hailing service, and maybe but this user has never used GoCar. GoCar is the use of car as a ride-hailing service instead of two-wheel vehicle. So, and then user one is similar to user three, and user three has not used GoFood or the food delivery. So because user one and user three are similar, maybe user three also like to use GoFood or food delivery. Yeah. So Gojek can identify, can cluster or segment users based on their preferences or taste, and then can offer a recommendation of product that similar user have order. Yeah. Because they have the same characteristic and preferences, maybe this user will also like the same products as the same as the other user that used it before. That's what we call as a cross-sell. And then next, please. Yeah, next is improve serviceability. Yeah, when we order a food, and Gojek need to make sure that the food can be delivered to you. That Gojek need to make sure that there is driver that can deliver that food to you. Because when merchant accept an order from a customer and Gojek is unable to find a driver partner to fulfill that order, the order cost is made by Gojek. Yeah, in the scale of the Gojek operation right now, large failure rates can result in massive burn. So they want to make sure that all of the order, when they are accepted, it can be fulfilled. So they can use AI to do this. Yeah, when a customer make an order, they determine the order can be serviced or not. If it cannot be serviced, they inform the customer with an error message prior to relaying it to the merchant. For example, here, this restaurant doesn't have any drivers nearby. Okay, got it. So yeah, so the customer can find another restaurant to buy from. Yeah. So the way Gojek use AI to do this, when a customer check out their food order, that can Gojek can classify or decide the probability of an order being a driver not found, so that Gojek can state upfront whether this order can be accepted or not. Next, please. Yeah. Next is order personalization. Yeah. For example, there are two users. Yeah, user Mila and Anna open the Gojek app and click the nearby me. Yeah, you see the nearby me tile at the top, and it will let the users know the nearby restaurants. It shows them the nearest restaurant first, and then they may spend some time scrolling and then leave the app without deciding because they have so many restaurants to choose from. So many food from each of the restaurants. So there are so many decisions to make. There are so many alternatives, and maybe they will end up not buying anything. Okay, so since the cognitive effort to picking a restaurant and then a dish from the menu is too much. But Gojek can look in the past order of both users, and then Gojek knows a fair bit about their preferences. So Gojek can use this data to rank restaurants based on their preferences and taste. Yeah, and these two users, yeah, may end up getting different recommendations even though they are in the same place. Next, please. Yeah, this is the very first problem that Gojek tackles, is to match customers and drivers. Yeah, because Gojek is a marketplace with dozens of products, hundreds of thousands of driver and merchants, and millions of customers. They decide which driver to allocate millions of times a day. So they have huge amount of data to optimize decisions, but they have to consider multiple and dynamic objectives to balance the need of the drivers and the customers. Yeah, when the customer call a ride-hailing service, and then Gojek will use a multi-objective allocation system to rank drivers based on several objectives. For example, driver acceptance rate, Yeah, this driver have high acceptance rate. Yeah, for example, usually this driver always accept order, for example. Also pickup times, this driver have low pickup times, yeah, and then so customer doesn't have to wait too long, and the distance between customers and drivers. So there are multiple objectives that needs to be considered when matching customers and drivers, and AI can help us with that, can help business with that. I think that's all.
Well, thank you for your insight, Imairi. And after this, we're going to have a brief discussion with our speakers. But before we do get to that point, we would like to have a short break, and we will be, yeah, we're going to a short break right now. So thank you.
Welcome to our igloo. When I started university in Sydney, I wanted to live somewhere where I could meet new people and experience new things. I've met so many different people at Igloo who've become some of my closest friends. Everybody's got their own stories, but we've all been connected through Igloo.
I love the location. It's so close to everything and there are heaps of cool places to eat out. 2 major shopping centres are only a few minutes walk away, and every Thursday and Friday night there are street markets with the best food, music and entertainment. The station is also right next to us, so it's really convenient getting around Sydney as well. I can just jump on a train and be in the city in no time. But everything you need is right here in Chatswood.
I'm studying music, and Igloo gives me perfect harmony between having my own space and being social. The rooms are all really homely and have heaps of modern features. If I need some creative inspiration, I head up to the rooftop terrace. Or there are lots of other study spaces to choose from.
Igloo has given me independence and made me more confident as a person. The team is so supportive and put on regular activities and events for everyone, which are included in our rent. It's a great way to make friends, and we're pretty much just one big community.
The movie night's my favourite, but I'm always up for some friendly competition and free pizza.
I have also lived at Igloo in Brisbane, so I'm definitely part of the Igloo family. All the facilities are great, with plenty of study areas, relaxing spaces, and everything you ever need inside and outside. We have access to 24/7 on-site support, so you always feel safe and secure.
It's definitely become my home away from home.
It's super easy to get the train to Macquarie Uni. There's also regular buses that can take you all over Chatswood and Sydney. It's nice being so close to uni, especially for those early starts. But at the end of a long day, it's even nicer to come home to our Igloo. Come and discover it for yourself. It's a cool place to live.
All right. Thank you again to Igloo Student Accommodation. We also have another message from the KJRE Sydney to Indonesian students currently studying in Queensland. Don't forget to register yourself to the portal Peduli WNI at peduli.kemlu.co.id. Keep up with exciting news and information from the Indonesian Consulate General in Sydney, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at KJRI Sydney. Now, up next, we have the discussion session. I'm gonna stop our screen share here. And then, so we've basically listed some questions for our panelists, and we're going to ask each of both of them the questions. So the first one, we've discussed a lot about the seller's perspective on things, like how Alibaba and Gojek have benefited a lot from AI. Now, I want you guys to talk about how consumers specifically can benefit from AI. Let's start with Rishad.
Okay. So from my perspective, I think recommendation system is really beneficial for our customers. So for example, yeah, if a customer usually search for gadgets, then it makes sense if we gave them list of popular gadgets or list of discounted gadgets than if we give them like recommendation of clothes or etc. So I think recommendation helps the user to be able to know more of what they're interested in. So yeah, like discount or trending gadgets, etc. And also maybe if you, so for example, if you often listens to Frozen soundtrack on Spotify, then maybe in the next Discover Weekly, Spotify will be able to recommend you to hear Aladdin soundtrack, for example. Another example is carpooling, like Uber. So when a customer requests to get a ride, we can recommend the closest driver to the customer so they don't have to wait for a long time for their ride. So that's how AI benefits the consumer.
Okay. Thank you, Rishad. And from Imairi?
So the benefit of AI to customers is the general benefit is to improve the supply process of goods to consumer, and also to improve the customer experience. So specifically, the first benefit is availability of 24/7. Yeah, since machines don't require frequent breaks and refreshment, just like human beings, the communication channels are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this makes the consumer feel constantly supported, which is excellent for the brand. The next one is faster problem solving. Yeah, so unlike human operators, chatbots or agents virtual assistants can simultaneously assist a large number of customers and provide answers in real time. And so users don't have to wait to get the solution because everything is done much more quickly and making interaction shorter and less frequent. And then there is also less consumer effort. Yeah, consumer don't need to make a great effort to receive answers. And then also more customized interaction, a better adaptation to individual customer needs. And it is achieved through personalization that we have discussed so far. Yeah, since the virtual assistant or chatbot learns from every interaction from the consumers, this information and combined with the customer records is used to increasingly customize their interactions. Yeah, I think those are the benefits of AI to customers.
Right, thank you. So just to summarize what both of our panelists just said, from Rishad, he focused more on the recommendation systems that could benefit customers. For example, if you would get like a recommended list of popular or discounted gadgets that are suitable for and who are suitable and personalized for the customers. And also not to forget that Uber has AI that searches for drivers who are closest to you, so you will be, for your convenience sake. Recommendation system basically let us know about what the consumers are basically interested most. And from Imairi, AI allows more focuses more on the comfort for our audience, for our customers. So AI could allow 24 hours availability. They don't need to take a break. They could have virtual chatbots. They could also help a large amount of people and also have customized interaction as well. Right, so moving on to our second question, what are the typical jobs related to AI in e-commerce? And I think this is more for Rishad.
Okay, sure. So right now, I see there are 3 jobs related to AI in e-commerce. The first one is data scientist. So these guys are the one who plans what they're looking for. So they plan what data that they need and then what is the outcome. So for example, the data science team, yeah, they suggest, okay, we need recommendation system, we need fraud detection, we need fake review detection, etc. So they're the one who plans all this. And then we have data engineer. So these guys are the one in charge of making sure that of preparing the data, making sure they're valid, there are no or minimum noise or outliers. And so making sure that it's ready to be consumed by the machine learning team. Now, third one is the machine learning engineer. So they're the one who trains the machine, make sure that they're doing the execution, making sure they achieve certain accuracy, like 90% of the prediction is correct. So they're the one who's doing the work for the AI. So yeah, for me, currently we have three related jobs.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So I just want to summarize again for our listeners. There are, from Richard, we have 3 jobs. We have data scientist who plans the data usage in general and focuses on what the data, what the data may be used for. We also have data engineer who prepares the data, cleans the data, and makes sure that they are valid and minimize the quantity of outliers. And last but not least is the machine learning engineer who makes sure that the data accuracy is good and executes executes everything that are previously planned by the engineer. Okay, so we move on to our next question. I want to take so throughout this session, we've talked a lot about how AI has been using data to basically improve the commerce business. But a lot of people have been concerned about how and what data AI is actually using. Is it or not a breach of privacy? And so I want to take both of your opinions on how the claims that what AI is doing is basically a breach of privacy. And maybe we can start from Rishad.
Okay, sure. I'm going to tell you from the technical perspective. So I've done several machine learning features, and from what I've done, and this is usually the data that we need. We don't need user specific data, user personal data like names or phone number or etc. We don't need those data. We just need facts data. We just need transaction data. So for example, we got sales from last month, what are the items, when it was bought, and then where is the location. We just need those data, and then we can tell the machine learning, probably for storage for the commerce. Okay, so Brisbane is more popular in selling shoes than in Gold Coast probably. So we can have a number. So okay, then we just need to ship more shoes to Brisbane than to Gold Coast, and we used just facts data. There's no customer personal data involved. And for example, the recommendation system. So if people usually watch cartoons, then it makes sense if Netflix recommends like a Disney cartoon movies, because it's on the same category, and that doesn't rely on who the customer is. It's just based on, okay, usually cartoon, then cartoon movies, then we recommend cartoons. So that's from my perspective.
Right. Thank you, Rishad. And from Imairi?
Thank you. So we appreciate the effort taken by the companies and businesses to remove the individual data, the individual information about the data. But while we appreciate that, there are still risks or concerns that they use FAI by states or corporations, that it will have negative impact on human rights. So AI can be used to identify and track individuals across different devices, for example, by using facial recognition. Even though the personal data is routinely pseudo-anonymized within datasets, AI can also be used to de-anonymize this data. AI can be used to re-identification and de-anonymization. Yeah, so we need to balance between the privacy preservation and the ethics and the personalization. So this is a very active field of research. For example, a prominent research is in the Lancaster University that we can balance privacy preservation and personalization. The research is in the context of personalized advertising application for smartphones. They propose an IT solution that retains users' information locally on their smartphones, while still providing them with personalized product messages. So the user's data is not leaving the mobile phones, but they can still use this IT solution. So there are a lot of ways that we can preserve the consumers' privacy while still offering them experience and optimize business processes by using AI.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to summarize for our audience from Rishad. The actual customer personal data is not actually used for machine learning. It's just that the glimpse of information about the customer, maybe the location of where they are from, would be used. And the personal data that they do get, they actually strip away, so we don't actually use it. And the machine are only using transaction data in order to make a prediction model for better marketing commerce. And from Imairi, um, you mentioned uh, the anonymization of data. So that's to make sure that data is secure. You also mentioned about how there's research as well about how data is actually not leaving the customers. It's still there just for the sake of your privacy as well. So we will move on to our fourth question. Are there any hidden benefits from AI that have not been utilized up until today for most e-commerce that we can find? Um, we're talking about the current situation, the current AI business right now. Is there any benefits that we haven't been utilizing very well in the current system? Let's start from Imairi then.
So we have talked about all of the AI implementation in the upstream activities and the upstream aspect of the supply chain management, like the interaction between the business and the customers. Yeah, we talk a lot about personalization, recommendation, everything. So between business and customers, and there are still a lot of opportunities of AI implementation in the upstream part of the supply chain management. For it is the interaction between business and the suppliers. Yeah, more in the production and the procurement of raw materials to make a product, for example. Yeah. So there is this term called precision farming. Yeah, it's the use of AI in the agriculture. Yeah, it is to boost productivity in agriculture. Perhaps Rishad can elaborate further. He is more equipped for that. And then there's also another way to utilize AI in e-commerce is to integrate sustainability. It's like how we can minimize or reduce the negative impact of supply chain activities into the environment and the society. Yeah? And while still maintaining the profitability, it's still profitable, but the effect to the environment and the society is minimum. Yeah, so one of the way AI can help us with that is to improve the selection of suppliers and its effectiveness through audits, full delivery performance, and credit scoring and evaluation, so that can inform future decisions. So we can choose suppliers that can be environmentally responsible and socially responsible, but still maintaining profit. So those are the two things that we can explore further.
Okay, thank you. And from Rishad?
Okay, I would say for ASEAN countries, our location is very strategic for agriculture development. So I think we should utilize artificial intelligence to boost our agriculture production. So for example, let's take image recognition. So let's develop software, mobile apps software that use the camera to be able to detect the crops. And when it detects the crops, it also examines if it's healthy or not, if there are disease or not. We can look that by maybe like the leaves, maybe there are the leaves are not fresh, or yeah, or there are a disease, then we can take action. If we found a sick plant, we can take action to help cure the plant. And also maybe another example, if we can also plant some sensors. So we plant sensor to the soil to be able to capture the moisture, or also maybe the light sensitivity sensor, so we can know if the crops are growing optimally or not, and that way we can control the quality and also hopefully boost the quantity of agriculture development. So yeah, that's
Okay, great. So thank you guys, and I just want to summarize for our audience. Both of our speakers talked about the agricultural aspect of how AI can be used in that agricultural aspect. And from Imairi, we can use AI to integrate sustainability. We'll see like which businesses have a negative impact on the environment, and we can choose suppliers that are more environmentally responsible. And from Rishat, we also have different variations of how AI could be used in agriculture as well, such as the image recognizing sensor, image recognition from a mobile app, for example, that we can use to detect whether like leaf is unfresh or maybe it has a disease on it. We can also look at more advanced techniques, such as having sensors that could look at whether a crop is requiring more leaves or more soil for it to grow. And and we can move on to our last question. We've talked a lot about how AI is beneficial right now, and we also talked about how AI could be improved right now. But I want to know, in both of your opinions, how can the AI aspect of the business could be improved for the future? Let's start with Rishat then.
So I would say automation. We could automate small things that don't really need human resources. So so what I'm saying is we should allocate human resources more clever by using automation. So let's take an example of transaction. We don't need to check those transaction, each of customer transaction every day using our own human resource. We could just develop an artificial intelligence software that can do those tedious tasks automatically and faster, and we just probably need one person supervising this process. So yeah, I think a lot of things can be automated for efficiency without sacrificing the human resource. We can just allocate the human resource to more critical business aspect. I guess that's all from me.
Thank you, Rishat. And from Imairi?
So I will answer how to improve AI from the information systems and business perspective. So there is still integration issue because artificial intelligence is a state-of-the-art technology. There are still a lack of understanding how this state-of-the-art technology is emerging technology and its interoperability with other systems. Yeah, how it can work with legacy system, how we can work with another system. Yeah, there is still some issue on that, and that's how we can improve AI. And also from we can also combine the data research efforts, because it is research. Usually research is less structured and everything compared to the traditional business activities. So there is an effort to combine or marry the data research effort with project management best practices. So before the AI deployment, there is a need to transition the initial data science algorithm into the IT project management. Yeah, so there is also, maybe we can improve AI by utilizing skilled managers, that the AI teams should be led with project managers that can strictly enforce project management methodologies and best practices. That's from me.
Okay, thank you guys. So for summarization, Rishad talked about automation and how it could maximize things that maximize the small things that we don't really need human resources for. And so by having these automations, we can focus more on the business side of things and and maximize profit from there. Uh, yeah, and all of this is for basically improving the efficiency of the business as well. And from Imairi, Imairi mentioned that we still have integration issues with with some systems because all of this AI thing is still a state-of-the-art equipment, and there's still a lack of understanding of how it could integrate with other systems, and so it's something that we need to take a look at. And therefore, we need increase the efforts to combine the transition of human and IT management by utilizing skill management as well. And AI could also help to improve project management in business as well. And so with that ends our discussion. That was a very fruitful one. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, that's all the questions that we've prepared so far. And after this, we're going to take a look at the questions from our audience. And so if you do guys have any more questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature that we have on Zoom, and then we'll take a look at them after the short break.
Hello, welcome to our igloo. I've been living at Igloo Brisbane City for a few years and I absolutely love it. It offers a student-friendly lifestyle with fantastic services and people in a convenient location right in the heart of Brisbane. I've made so many cool connections and friendships that will last a lifetime.
There's plenty of spaces to just hang out with your friends, or if you need to study, there's open areas to do so, both inside and outside. On a sunny day in Brisbane, I like to get outside and relax.
I enjoy studying in my room because of the open space, fresh air and natural light. I really love that Igloo designs the rooms for what students need. It's great to live in a place that facilitates learning and is full of cool people.
The whole building is state-of-the-art and very student-friendly, ranging from the vibrant interior design to high-speed internet. Even the washing machine texts you when your clothes are done.
I love walking everywhere, to university, the shops or local cafes. Everything is so close. And when we want to explore, there's so many places nearby.
There's so much to do in and around Brisbane, and Igloo is the perfect place to live. Igloo is more than just a student accommodation. It's a place to remember for the rest of your life. Hi guys.
Hey.
So again, thank you. That was Igloo student accommodation, and also we have more some additional message from at KJRI Sydney. So again, sorry, to Indonesian students who are currently studying in Queensland, don't forget to register yourself at Portal Peduli WNI at peduliwnikemlu.go.id. Keep up with exciting news and information from the Indonesian Consulate General in Sydney on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at KJRI Sydney. And now we're going to go ahead at our Q&A session. I'm just going to turn off our screen again. Both of our panelists can look at the questions, and so let's start with the first one. It's from Ilham. We've seen that AI's ability is analogous to the human visual system, where we see things and what we see is interpreted by the brain, and what we make decisions based on what we see. AI looks at a data set and develops predictions based on what it sees. Now, on the decision-making front, sometimes AI is limited to an informational role by informing human decision makers of what it predicts, but we can also see that AI is trusted to make decisions themselves. All right, so whether a review is genuine or false, or which drivers to match to which customer. However, AI is deployed more often in more diverse contexts as it benefits from the spillover effects of professionals from different fields improving their usage of AI and AI capabilities. Will AI eventually be able to make bigger decisions, and will we trust AI to make those decisions? Okay, so that's a big question. Um, Rishad or Imari, does anyone want to start this question first?
Okay, so to summarize, I think the concern here is we let AI to make decisions, and AI can be deployed into different area. And can we trust AI? Can we make those AI make a bigger decision? And can we trust the AI? So so from my perspective, we usually create AI to do certain tasks. For example, you might have heard, like, I think it's Watson by the IBM. They want to defeat the champion of Dota championship, if I'm not mistaken.
OpenAI, right?
OpenAI. So they make the AI to do one goal, to do one purpose, which is to play the game and defeat the winner, the champion. That's all what we tell the AI to do, and the AI can't really do anything else other than doing the actions that they were told to. So, and usually we have, like, we supervise the process, and if the AI is not like, the accuracy is going down, we have to retrain the AI using the latest data to be able to keep up with the latest change. So from my perspective, it's up to us how big the decision is for the AI to take actions, and there will be a supervising process for the AI to make sure that it's not going off track. So I think it's possible we make AI for bigger decision. For example, the autonomous driving, it's a really big decision. It affects life and death for people, but yeah, the AI can just drive, and I think the company is responsible for supervising and improving those systems to make sure it's safe and it can't do anything else. So yeah, I guess that's for me, if it answers the question.
Yeah, it definitely does. Thank you, Rishad. I'm a big Dota fan myself, and I saw my champions getting beat up by those AI. So they are definitely capable of doing such hardships. We have another question here as well. What should Indonesia do to help fasten and succeed the implementation of AI? Imairi, you can explain this.
Yeah, so there is AI is still is considered an emerging technology. It is still evolving and have some unexpected challenges. So there are in Indonesia that we can do to improve AI is that the availability of data. So usually, and more often than not, that data collected by companies are siloed, in poor quality and inconsistent. So we can start by that, by putting more effort into cleaning and integrating the data, and then we can create value from those data. And also there is skill shortage, the availability of the competent technical staff with the training and the experience needed is very limited. So we can also start from that, yeah. And this webinar is a good start, is a good way to do that. Then influence more implementation of AI. And also the cost. Yeah, the cost of acquiring AI technology is quite expensive. Yeah, because it involves the human resources, research, and the long process. So yeah, it's the cost, one of the key consideration in acquisition of AI in technology. So yeah, so those are the three things that we need to consider to improve AI implementation in Indonesia.
Thank you. And another next question is there any technology that can complement AI? And I think this is more better suited for Rishad, or is there any more questions that you would like to prefer right now?
Okay, is there any technology that can complement AI? It's, I'm not sure if the question is correct.
Right. I think the question.
Yeah. So okay, maybe I can add a few things. So, is there any technology that can complement AI? Yes. Since AI is mostly depends on data, big data, processing data. So if we have a technology to be able to process all those big data quickly, it certainly complement AI. So I'm getting this question from the implementation part. I'm not sure if what you mean is for the customer part. I'm not sure if, yeah, that's what I got. So from the development part, if the more power, the more resource power that we have, it certainly can help complement AI to be able to predict faster. So if you can predict faster, you can give bigger responsibility for the AI. I guess that's from me. Maybe Imari wants to add, or
yeah, Imari, maybe you want to add something to this question?
I basically agree with what Rishad has said.
Okay, thank you. I hope to the person who asking us, I hope that answers your question. The next question is there any negative implications of using AI? Rishad, would you please answer this one?
Okay, yeah, so there are two questions. So negative implication of using AI and disadvantage or drawbacks in the AI
those are
uses.
closely related.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna answer both. Negative implications, drawbacks of AI is if we don't properly create the AI. So for example, if we just briefly train the AI with bad accuracy and then we deploy that to production, it's definitely a disadvantage. It can falsely delete reviews, which is a genuine reviews, but the AI detects that as false reviews. So for me, I think it's more of the disadvantage comes from being responsible for training the AI to do the things that's right. And hopefully there are no people that plans to use AI to do bad things. So I guess, yeah, from the machine part itself, currently from me, I don't see anything bad could happen unless the human plans the machine to do so. So yeah, like that's also an example for e-commerce. So if the fraud detection system is there's a flaw in the system, maybe like 80% of the transaction got rejected because it's being labeled as fraud, then it becomes a disadvantage. Guess that's my answer.
Thank you. That's a great question. That's a great answer. And moving on from that one is, what is the most common false understanding or mistakes regarding AI? Anyone want to take this one?
Okay, maybe I want to add. So AI doesn't mean that the machine can learn everything by themselves. It's not like okay, you teach a machine to be able to do text processing. They can read a book, and then they suddenly, if you give them like if you give them if you give them like hacking books, and then the machine can learn, oh, they know how to hack, and then they can hack big companies, etc. That's not how it works. So it's actually the human trains the AI to do a certain task, and that's it. Currently, it's not like Skynet from the Terminator, where the AI can learn everything, then launch nuclear, etc. So it's, yeah, maybe people are very afraid of that might happen, but it really depends on the humans who trains the machine. So I guess that's for me.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. That was great. Moving on to the next question: why face recognition may bring danger to commerce? And Imai, I think you can answer this one.
Thank you. Maybe it may, it's not about bringing danger. It's more like privacy, preserving privacy. For example, that you want to buy something that is quite embarrassing, for example, but we just don't want people to know that we buy this. Maybe it's not something illegal, but it's just something embarrassing, something we don't want our parents or our friends to know that we buy this or something like that. Yeah, so it's like a privacy preservation. That's what the face recognition is a bit of concern here. Why it is a bit concerned about face recognition in commerce.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now this next question is very interesting. It's very related to the topic of today. Is the investment in AI worth the benefit for the company? And for example, in e-commerce company, most of them are not that profitable yet. So will it be beneficial to add another expenditure in the AI technology? Imai, you could answer this one.
Yeah, so actually it depends on your business and the needs of your business and the customers. So there are several benefits that I can bring to e-commerce that will be incredibly useful for the business overall sales, like the personalization aspect. But usually almost everything, like there is a catch. There is a catch about that. If you are just starting to build a business, the AI catches might not trump the pros. But if you have stabilized store with enough resources to invest in AI, in a way that it will take your business to the next level, that it's easy to see how the pros can lead more profitable and productivity. So it depends on your business and the needs.
Great, thank you. I hope that answers your question. Next one is, if I were to start my own business, for example, an online shop, with limited resources, in example, money or human resources, how do you suggest I implement AI to my business?
Yeah, so actually it is related with the previous questions. So it depends on your business, on its needs. So at first you just started, so there are a lot of things, the usual business process that you need to tackle. You need to acquire enough critical mass. You need to acquire enough customers that buy things on your website and everything. You need to acquire a loyal, competent resources. So I think if you just started your business, you need to focus on more important things and tackle the problems that you can tackle. So we start with the customers' pains. What are the customers' pain? And then if it cannot be it can be solved by AI, but you don't have enough resources yet. And maybe you can focus on a less sophisticated solution. Just like you cannot employ sophisticated chatbots. You can use contact forms or email or everything. Yeah, so maybe once you acquire enough resources and a more stabilized process, then you can move on to the next level. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you. Great question. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's also related to what my experience is. So you just start your business. You don't have you don't have experience yet with this business. You don't have data with this business. So therefore, it's not really suitable to use AI. First, you have to get your own hands-on experience on what are the customer pain, and then you have to tackle it yourself. And then if you already know that a solution that works, then you can automate using AI, of course with data. So it comes back to the data. You need to have data to automate, and you need to know what you want to do with AI. You need to have the outcome that you're expecting from an AI. So yeah, I just want to add that.
Thank you. Great addition. Great addition. Next question. It's an interesting one. Does AI have any competition? Rishad, maybe you can take this one.
I guess another AI, like, yeah, maybe AI from Google versus AI from IBM, probably. I'm not sure what the context of the question is.
Right.
But we're talking about competition, as in, yeah, winning. I guess another AI. I will see AI versus AI kind of thing.
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess that's what they mentioned. They thought about it as well. Thank you, Rishad. Would a person with no professional background on IT or AI be able to use AI in their commerce? Rishad, you can answer this one.
So yes, Google have so there's like a online cloud platform by Google. It's called Google Cloud Platform. It's very simple name. So Google Cloud Platform have a machine learning feature that you only need to upload your data in spreadsheet, and then you define what data that the training needs to see. So it's just like you click, if I'm not mistaken, you click the column. Like this platform can recognize the columns, and then you just need to select the columns that you think it's useful for the AI, and then you pick what are the results. For example, if using my example, then you choose the student score, and then you choose the result, which is the failed test, and then you just click. It will train by itself and then give you like the final result, the prediction, and then you can use that AI to predict. So yeah, there's no coding needed, no IT experience needed, but I haven't tried it myself. I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah, you can definitely use AI without background in IT.
Okay, thank you, Rishad. Imari, would you have something to add as well to that question, maybe?
I think that's pretty good answer from Rishad.
Okay, good. Is there some sort of universal code of conduct that controls how AI is being implemented to prevent it from being used unethically? I'm not sure. Wait, I don't have a background in AI, but I think I've heard about the Asimov 3 laws of robotics. Does that have anything to do with this?
So in my experience of developing AI, currently there are, from my experience, there are no guidelines that we should follow, no like code of ethics sort of type of guidance that we should be aware of. But I think that is a really good answer to make sure that if people started to build AI for unethical actions, then we should definitely be able to stop them because of this universal code. So I think currently I'm not aware of a really strict guidelines that people should be aware before they create AI, but I think that's a really good to have.
Okay, that's something we look forward into the future. The next, okay,
I would like
Imari,
to add to that. Yeah, so according to a report from a Center for the Governance of AI at the University of Oxford, 82% of Americans believe that the robots and AI should be carefully managed. Yeah, so and also the US Navy has funded a report which indicates that military robots become more complex. There should be greater attention to implications of their ability to make autonomous decisions. So there is a concern about this AI application become autonomous, and then so it trigger the emergence of a new field of research concerning with designing artificial moral agents, or MA. So that's a robot, artificially intelligent computer that behave morally or thought normally. So it is what we call as machine ethics or machine morality. So it is a field of research as well. So maybe, so yeah. So hopefully it can produce some kind of, conduct, a code of conduct, or a kind of robot that behave ethically and morally.
Right. Thank you, guys. Next question. What success factors of AI implementation in commerce? I mean, they're asking what are the successful factors of AI? Maybe they're asking for examples, Imairi?
Yeah. So AI is like another technology. It's just like another technology or information system. Like the success factor of AI implementation in e-commerce, like the how customers would like to use it, or how business would like to use it, or how business would like to adopt it. So it is usually depend on the factor of ease of use. So whether it is ease of use and ease of usefulness, whether it is useful, whether the customer think it is useful, or whether it is it doesn't really cater to their needs, because AI is very like objective, so it acts on the data, yeah. So it really objective, and maybe it lacks of emotional part of the customers, so it doesn't really understand emotions. Maybe now, yeah, maybe it is a way to understand emotion. Even us humans don't understand emotions. Some of us, yeah, but we know how to understand emotion. But machines still have a long way to go to understand emotions. So yeah, so success factor of AI implementation in e-commerce is that the ease of usefulness and also ease of use, yeah, and also behavior of customer in using that, or whether there is specific strict rules or guidelines to use that. Maybe because it is machine, we need to do this, but in human, sometimes we tolerate some kind of mistakes. That's okay, he's human, something like that. But machines, I know they follow a strict procedure, follow strict some steps. Yeah. So there's a behavior toward the adoption of this technology as well. I think those are the success factors of AI implementation in commerce. Of course, there is a technical issue about data or any other model improving the accuracy or something like that. So maybe Rishad is more equipped to answer that kind of questions.
Right. Thank you, Imairi. Rishad, do you have anything to add to this question?
I would say I don't really have much to add. It's mostly it's being covered, but hold on, let me see. So I guess the success factor, it really depends on supervising the whole process. Basically, I guess that's the only thing I want to add.
Right. Good point. Good point. We can move on to the next question. How do you think we might deal with possible human biases in AI development?
Yeah, so it's a good question. And actually, it's not only human bias, there's also machine bias. So if you train the data over and like if you're training the data and then using the same test data over and over again, you could develop, we call it overfitting, which is like the machine don't actually learn, but it remembers the answer. So let's take the example of 60. So if most of the people answer 70 pass, and then the rest answers 40 and then they fail, then the rules are, it's not if more than 60% they pass, but if 70 pass, and then if 40 fail. So if we have 80, then the machine don't really know what to do, and they might say it failed because there's a machine bias there. So it comes back with to the data. We need to have diverse data. We need to have good quality data, and make sure that so it comes back to the facts, because data are facts. There's no bias there. and yeah, just train with different data over time to make sure that you don't get any bias from human or from the machine.
So, yeah, we have only time for one more question, and this is a very interesting one. It's a very social one. For now, there is still a gender gap in the IT AI industry where men dominates the industry. What do you think of this gap? And if it is a gap, if this gap poses some sort of drawbacks to the AI application in terms of lack of women perspective or even touch?
I would like to answer this question. So the gap of the women representation in IT or AI disciplines have some kind of imbalance, yeah, that can have some kind of impact. Yeah, so economically, the diversity gaps means that the loss of capable contributors, so and drivers for economic and technological development. So I'm not gonna say that women are good at this and men are good at this because it propagates stereotypes. That these specific stereotypes. I just want to mention that yeah, the lack of diversity will means that the loss of capable contributors and drivers of economic and technological development. And also culturally, the lack of women in AI and IT in general propagates stereotypes. Yeah, IT is for men, something like that. So it propagates stereotypes. So the lack of diversity propagates stereotypes and creates a self-fulfilling prophecy who shapes the future. Yeah, something. And the next is socially non-inclusive innovation means that the system itself are suboptimal and often affected by bias. Or damaging the bottom line. So because the lack of women representation sometimes means that the research agenda or the implementation agenda is likely to neglect women-specific issues, and therefore the development of suitable products. So there is this statement says that products are only made useful for the people who set the parameters. So that's why we need a diverse set of people to make products that are useful for everyone. Yeah, so there are movement everywhere to increase the representation of women in IT in general. Yeah.
Thank you,
Very
May.
useful.
Risha, do you have anything to add to this one?
For me, from my experience in the Bangkit Academy program, the number of anticipated women is actually higher than expected. I don't remember how much, but it's not that big of a gap in gender. So I'll say that it's just like everyone can learn AI. It's not a gender specific industry, and I think that women is free to jump into the world of AI and add perspective or touch. They're free to do so. It's open for everyone. So I think that it's maybe because it's still quite relatively new industry. We still see those gaps, but I don't see this will be in the upcoming in the future. So yeah, feel free for everyone to learn.
Great answer. Great answer. Okay, we can move on. Actually, we still have time. We can move on to our last three questions as well. We've seen that AI has a lot of potential, but what would be the downfall of AI? What would be the downfall of AI? Maybe someone would like to answer this question.
From me, I think the downfall if there is no universal code of conduct, and if we need to monitor. So I guess like people need to be aware of what AI implementations, and if there are some people who use AI unethically, we should be able to report. We should be able to gather force and probably stop that from happening, because if people started to use AI for unethical reasons, then yeah, it could be the downfall for AI. I guess.
Yeah, that's a very good answer. Imari, maybe you have something to add, or do you agree with what Rishad has said?
Yeah, I think we need some more of a control or a universal code of conduct, just like Irshad says, that yeah, because because we are human, because we need our needs, and we need to trust the system. We need to trust that the system acts according to our best interest, that they preserve our privacy, and they recommend us the best services and something like that. So if the AI cannot respect this, and the human decline to share their data and everything, decline to participate in this data gathering or something like that, it might lead to the downfall of AI or something, because yeah, this is the life of democracy or something. So we just need some boundary or a code of conduct about how AI can affect our lives.
Right. So thank you. Interesting question. Interesting answer. Next one is, what model of AI that we encounter today?
A lot of things. As I said, unlocking your phone, and also, yeah, logging to your account, and even logging to your email account. There is an AI behind that to determine whether it's really you or it should be blocked. Like, you don't know who's logging in, but yeah, there's an AI. If you log into your email account, behind them there's an AI to detect if it's a genuine login or not, and recommendation systems. What else? I guess that's usually what I encounter. That's for me.
Maybe Imari have something to add as well?
I think that's all.
Okay. So that marks the end of our Q&A session. That's all the time we have. Thank you everyone who has been watching the show. And before we move on, I just want to say that's the end, and that's the end of that actually. That's all for this year's ASEAN Students Assembly. Again, yeah. That's all for this year's Asian Students Assembly. Final massive thank you to our sponsors, Igloo Student Accommodation, Kajera Sydney, and Shalom Indonesian Restaurant for sponsoring this event. You can see their social media stuff in here. And before we end, maybe last remarks from our speakers, Karishad.
Okay. Yep. So I just want to add, a connection of mine, he works as a senior research at Google DeepMind. He and his team also create this machine learning school, specifically focused on developing Southeast Asia countries. So it's like a short course, short academy, like a few months. I don't really know the details, but you could visit the website or ask them questions. So yeah, if you're interested in artificial intelligence and in ASEAN region, feel free to get in touch or yeah, join their training. I guess that's all from me.
Thank you, Rishad. Imari, would you have something to add as well? Final message to our audience?
Okay, yes. So AI technology is likely to have enormous and beneficial impact on the e-commerce industry in the coming years. So it will change and arguably improve the way consumers find products online. So it is a good time to learn more about AI. Whatever your interest is, especially if you are IT, is a good way to learn. It's a good opportunity to learn AI, since we have a lot of resources to learn from. Even lately, I've seen there is training about learning AI for non-IT background, non-engineering background. So yeah, there are a lot of resources to learn AI. So it's a good opportunity to advance your career, even though you're not from IT. Maybe you are from business, yeah. Because AI will impact business in the coming futures.
Okay, that's a good message. Thank you again to both of our speakers who have been very, very informative with us today. And that's all we have for this year's ASEAN Students Assembly. A final massive thank you to our sponsors, Igloo Student Accommodation, KJRI Sydney, and Shalom Indonesian Restaurant for sponsoring this event. You can check out their social medias. I'm showing you right now on the screen. And again, thank you for our sponsors. And for those of you who haven't registered with us right now, you can go on to the website, asaqueensland.card.co, or you can scan the barcode in order to receive your certificates. Lastly, we also would like to say congratulations to our trivia winner. We'll be emailing you if you did win. You're eligible to receive a gift card from either Woolies or Kohl's worth $75. Please check your email if you are the lucky ones, and yeah, see further information there. And that's all from us here. I would like to say thank you. It's been a massive honor for me. I'm Dafa, and that's all you're hearing from me today. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you next year at the ASEAN Student Association event.